Hello everyone, the CD Spin here, back with a new classic review finally, and today I am reviewing one of my favorite albums of all time, Kid A by Radiohead. Now, Kid A is a very, very, very special album, being easily one of the most critically acclaimed albums of not just the 2000s, but of all time. Often dubbed as the biggest left turn in music history, Kid A is not just important to Radiohead's trajectory, but music as a whole. After OK Computer, my favorite album of all time, by the way, Radiohead wanted to do something different. Touring for OK Computer absolutely killed Radiohead, leading to them almost breaking up. So naturally for Kid A, Radiohead wanted to do something completely different and branch out. There's hardly any guitar, there are electronic instrument, drum machines, and tons of experimental passages, and is vastly different from OK Computer. On Kid A, Radiohead just completely destroyed everything they had done on OK Computer, instead of doing OK Computer Part 2. And at the time, to be honest, Kid A had mixed reviews. That's because people simply didn't know what to do or say. An electronic album with no singles in the early 2000s released by a big band who had just released an instant classic 3 years ago, it was insane. Quickly though, critics finally understood the genius that was Kid A, and how even though it was an insane move on Radiohead's part, it was something that was absolutely necessary. And enough talking about the impact of Radiohead. Now let's talk about the music itself. The album opens up with, in my opinion, one of the best album openers of all time, being everything in its right place. Story time about this song. When I first heard the song, I absolutely hated it. I was strictly OK Computer at the time, and as I said before, this was so different from it that I just kind of rejected it. But one time I was taking a nap, alright, and it came on. And I was so enchanted at the time that I just fell in love with it. I genuinely can't describe how perfect the first 5 notes of this song are. Chills every time, literally. Tom's vocals and that eerie synth are just so good at creating an anxious and uncanny atmosphere that it literally scares me. And after the excellent album opener, there is this low-key and kind of sleepier track. Really, really cool robotic vocals and really nice and lush instrumentation. I think this is definitely great. Not one of the absolute best off the record, but an amazing one for sure. I just love how alien and out of this world it sounds. It's also the perfect song to sleep to, obviously in a positive way. And then the National Anthem is the third track, and easily one of my favorites. This incredibly cool yet simple static bass line and a traffic jam of a chaotic horn section that is reminiscent of Mingus, plus those diverse and mysterious sound effects that tear through the song. This track is amazing at building a thick and intense atmosphere. I also love Tom's vocals on this track, even though I know a lot don't. They have this cool sort of metallic effect on them that really just does wonders for the vibe of the song. I freaking love how the chaos just builds up throughout the track with mystery and ambiguity. It's just one of the more perfect cuts off the record, and I really, really, really love the horns on this track. I can't stress that enough. Next is How to Disappear Completely, which just so happens to be my favorite song of all time. In an interview in 2006, when asked by an interviewer what song he wants to be remembered by, Tom quickly answers, How to Disappear Completely, off Kid A. And there's a reason to that, folks. This song may just be Radiohead's best song, most depressing song, and most emotive song of all time. I just don't even know how to begin describing what this song just means to me. But I guess I could start by describing the backstory of it and what it all means. After the release of OK Computer, Radiohead became easily one of the biggest bands in the world. They went from small shows before OK Computer to headlining freaking Glastonbury and the Royal Showgrounds in Dublin in 1997 after OK Computer. Since this was such a big leap from before for Radiohead, Thom Yorke was absolutely not in the right state of mind. It absolutely killed him to tour. He claimed to have nightmares about floating down the River Liffey in Dublin and being chased by a huge wave, which signifies one of the lyrics in the song, I walk through walls, I float down the Liffey. After the 2 shows, Tom was completely done. He didn't want to tour, he didn't want to do anything, he was absolutely depressed. And to cope, Tom reached out to Michael Stipe of REM and asked him how he copes with the pressure of touring. Stipe had told Tom to just shut the blinds and repeat the lines, I'm not here, this isn't happening, which is actually the main line of the whole song. Like I explained before, all the touring and all the pressure led Radiohead to take a big stance with Kid A, and with that, Johnny Greenwood chose to start leaning to the Martineau and create orchestral lines for the album. However, the only song to really have orchestral lines is, you guessed it, How to Disappear Completely. Musically, How to Disappear Completely is probably the most conventional song off Kid A, with acoustic guitar and regular instruments plus orchestra, instead of drum machines or beep boop synths. Just the song itself, and Tom York, and all of this was intentional, along with the uncomfortable string lines and that one constant string that sounds like an open door. In this song, Tom describes his struggles during touring and the nightmares he had about the shows he did. This is easily one of the most heartbreaking songs of all time. On this track, the song evolution is perfect. That first deep, dark, and quiet, to loud and heart-wrenching strings that are a display of exorcism and emotion and depression that he was feeling at the time, to by the end where everything is engulfed in depression and is all uncomfortable. Yeah, this song is definitely an all-time favorite of mine, and fun fact, to this day, still my most played song on Spotify, by far. Just an absolutely perfect track, and one that I will never ever get tired of. And then the next song on the album is a breather from the last two, and it so happens to be one of Radiohead's only two purely instrumental tracks. Beautiful, haunting, quiet, and soft track that is incredibly enchanting and soothing. I just love the way that it shows beauty and calm while still being mysterious and dark and twisted. And also, that has to be one of my favorite titles for any song. It's so creepy and really makes me imagine what a tree finger is. This song is like a dark forest on a mythical planet, just like quiet, calm, lonely, desolate. I mean, it's just a great atmosphere. And we get right back into it with the song Optimistic, which is one of the only songs on this album to include guitar, and it's almost a rock song, but not quite. And it's also possibly the happiest song on this otherwise fairly gloomy record, obviously called Optimistic. I just love the lyricism presented on the track, and the way that Tom York just says things with a great hook. This is definitely an amazing track. And then next is In Limbo, which might just be the unsung hero of this album. Not that it's a perfect song by any means, but it's a perfect follow-up to Optimistic, and it's a perfect song for me. It's this echoey, gritty, dark, and really delectable song, and is truly a great, great track. I just love the opening with the guitar and the way that the drums just come in right at the start, seemingly at random. It feels like being chased down by supervillains in a big city through a crowd of people. It's just like being in a superhero movie in general. I seriously can't describe how much I love the feeling that it builds. The instrumentation is on point, the sound is on point, production on point, just everything. And next is the fan favorite Idiotech, which is easily one of the most electronic songs on this record, with that drum machine and those glitchy sound effects. This song has one of my favorite beats in any song ever. It sounds very cool and almost danceable in a way, kind of. And I just freaking love how it sounds. Cool, glitchy, and I believe the first time Radiohead used sampling and loops in their music, and created one of the best IDM tracks of all time. I also love the lyricism on this track in a way. It's just so random but works with the music. And another great thing is Tom's vocals, but those are great all throughout their music, since, in my opinion, Tom is one of the greatest male vocalists in all of rock music. And then after being transitioned in from Idiotech, we get one of the sleepiest and most brutally hypnotic tracks in the bunch. Morning Bell also, unsurprisingly, has another one of my favorite beats in any song ever, like Idiotech. And Tom's vocals on this track also sound weirdly produced and kind of nasally on this track, in the absolute best way possible. The song has a really cool build-up part that just abruptly stops in a cool way. I don't know, I think Morning Bell is just a really, really underrated Radiohead song, and a great track. And next is the album closer motion picture soundtrack, and in my opinion, it's one of the best album closers in music history. If Radiohead have a funeral anthem, it's motion picture soundtrack, which is easily one of Radiohead's saddest and most just absolutely depressing songs they've ever released. It creates an absolutely somber and suicidal atmosphere that just makes me want to curl up in bed in the dark, with this beautiful and powerful organ throughout the track, and this beautiful, what sounds like harp, and mellotron that starts at the 2 minute and 16-second mark. That just sounds like an angel chorus. It's absolutely beautiful. And lyrically, this song is what I believe to be about suicide. Red wine and sleeping pills, and also the last line, I will see you in the next life. I just have to mention red wine and sleeping pills, and also that last line, I will see you in the next life. I mean, this is just obviously about suicide. I also have to mention just how well Tom York delivers these lines. His delivery is unexpected and holds on you with every single breath, and also the way he just delivers that last line is just simply haunting. I also love how they included this kind of beautiful untitled track that is listed as a separate track, but is really just a part of motion picture soundtrack. But yeah, this song is just a masterpiece, really. Kid A is such an interesting album to me, because it's so inconsistent as an album, but I feel like that's also what makes it so incredible. Every track feels like a piece of the puzzle that is Radiohead, and one of the best albums of all time. It's such a mystery to me because I've tried to make music before, and every time I do, it just astounds me how Radiohead even thought about this stuff. All I'm gonna say is, without repeating myself too much, is that this is more than a perfect album. It's a cultural moment, a moment in time that was seldom replicated, if never replicated at all. Radiohead just really are a blessing, and you should simply feel lucky to have them exist and make music. I just have really no more words for this review. Kid A is just a clear masterpiece, I guess there's just nothing more to say. I'm obviously feeling a 10. Like, there's no other rating that I could give this album. It's a 10 out of 10, and yeah, that's about it, guys, and see ya.